Welcome to Board Game Casual. In this video, we're taking a look at the board game Revive. I'll talk a bit about the game and how it plays, who I think the game is for, what I like most about the game, what I like least, and finally, I'll give it a score using the BGG rating system. Here we go. Real quick, I'd like to thank FELTECTORS for sponsoring this video. FELTECTORS makes awesome, affordable neoprene game mats, poker mats, felt tabletoppers, and more. They offer an array of sizes and colors, making it easy to pick the perfect game mat for your table. And trust me, nothing elevates the gaming experience more than having a nice surface to game on. FELTECTORS products are available on Amazon, or check out all they have to offer at FELTECTORS.com, where you can save $5 off of any order with coupon code OFF5 BoardGameCasual. Okay, back to the video. Revive is a captivating board game that plunges you into a post-apocalyptic world, 5,000 years after a cataclysmic event. You and your opponents play as tribe leaders emerging from underground, and your mission is to explore the frozen landscape, reclaim lost technologies, and rebuild civilization, trying to score the most victory points at the end of the game. Revive blends exploration, engine building, and strategic resource management, offering a rich and rewarding experience for board game enthusiasts. I should mention that Revive also includes a 5-part campaign where you unlock new content and learn more about the backstory and the world that this game is set in. However, I'm reviewing it here based on its merits as a standalone game. This was number 1 in the games I'm most eager to play this year. I bought it quite a while back, so I was really excited to finally get this one to the table. And spoiler alert, this game is definitely a candidate for making my top 10 new to me games list at the end of the year. Revive is a big game. It definitely takes up a lot of table space. You've got a big central game board along with card and resource markets, and each player has their own asymmetric faction board that combines with their own technology board, and of course space to lay out cards and such. It's not quite as big as Mosaic, where we needed to pull out separate trays for the player boards, but it definitely comes close. And like Mosaic, it's a bit of a slog to get through the rulebook, but once you get going, it's pretty straightforward. There's a lot to read through in order to understand how everything works, but everything makes sense and follows a logical flow. On your turn, you're either going to perform 2 actions of your choice. Essentially, these are things like play a card, explore, populate, build, provided you have the resources to do these actions. Otherwise, you're going to rest. I believe in the game they call it hibernate, which is basically taking a turn to do a reset, allowing you to refresh your cards, regain some resources, etc. This game reminds me a lot of Lost Ruins of Arnak, both in how you're flipping over tiles to explore on the main board and need to be able to spend enough resources the further away you want to explore or build, and especially in the overall mechanics and feeling of the game, where you're trying to do things in a way on a turn that let you squeeze out enough resources for an extra action before resting. You know, you're trying to put off that resting phase as long as possible. I think if you like Lost Ruins of Arnak but want something just a little meatier, you're gonna love Revive. One of the more unique things about this game, however, is the card play. Rather than using traditional deck building like in Lost Ruins of Arnak, if you choose the play a card action in Revive, you're going to play just 1 card. That card has to fit into one of your slots on your player board, and if you tuck it into a top slot, then you get the benefits from the top of the card. If you tuck it into the bottom slot, you take the benefits from the bottom of the card. This makes for some really fun but agonizing choices, since you'll often want both. In addition, there's no shuffling in this game. You're always going to cycle through your cards based on when they're played and ultimately discarded or bought from the market, which is one more thing to think about in terms of timing your rest action. Lastly, there's a good amount of variation from game to game. The character factions are asymmetrical, each with slightly different bonus abilities and tech trees, and you're going to pull tiles randomly to make up the board each game, so this should offer a lot of replayability. The production of Revive is very nice. The shining stars here are the dual layer player boards. The notched tracks help ensure your player markers don't slide around, and it's really satisfying when you unlock and get to drop in a new technology token on your tech board. The cards and iconography for the most part are easy to read and understand, though we did misinterpret an icon on one of the technology tokens, thinking it opened up the extra side slot on your board since it shared the same icon as the player board. In fact, this technology allowed you to flip a card in any space, so not a big deal once it's committed to memory. And while I can't say that I felt super immersed in the theme, I really like the artwork, sans the box cover. It's a shame that so much of the focus is on the tech trees and map spaces, because the characters and cards look great. If I had one complaint, it's that some of these wooden tokens are just too small and are really fiddly to pick up. Yes, this is a big game that's a table hog, but honestly, I think the wooden tokens could have still been made normal size and fit on the boards just fine. I thought that Glow had some of the smallest meeples I've ever seen, but Revive was like, here, hold my beer. At least in Revive, once you place your meeple, it basically just stays there. So it's not like you're actively picking them up and moving them around. As much as I like wooden components, the unfortunate thing is that at this size, the wooden components aren't all that heavy. So anything not in a track can slide around and stick to your fingers. If they were at least heavier, maybe a denser wood or made of metal, the small size might be forgivable. Let's talk about what I like most about Revive. I really like the card play in this game. It's similar to deck building, yet feels unique and fresh in how you have to choose which slot to activate the card in, and how you can level up those slots to be more powerful so that you get more rewards every time you use them. The game gives you a lot of moments to feel clever, whether you're continuing to squeeze out extra actions, getting 2-for-1 technology unlocks, or placing a tile piece in just the right way that it lets you build on a spot with maximum rewards. It has a great feeling of progression, new cards and unlock abilities feel really powerful. I love that the end of the game is triggered once all of the artifacts run out as opposed to a fixed number of rounds. It makes the game feel more fluid and gives players kind of a control over how quick or short the game is going to run. I really like the dual layer player boards and especially those notched tracks. Okay, now let's talk about what I like least. The game takes a while to play. I can't say that it wears out its welcome or feels like it goes longer than it should, it's just that it's every bit of a 2-hour game. Maybe games will get shorter in the future as players hone in on trying to get those artifacts as quickly as possible. Like many games of this type, there are also so many options and actions that trigger other actions, it can bog down in the last few turns from either analysis paralysis or everyone trying to math out all their different options. You know, do I go here and try to keep pushing my tech tree up so that I have an extra action I can take later? Do I go here, which is worth 3 points, plus these resources, which will net me another 3? You know, things like that. Lastly, as I mentioned earlier, I wish some of those wooden components were just a bit bigger and less fiddly. At a minimum, I wish they were heavier, like if they were made of metal. Final thoughts on Revive. I really like this game. As I alluded to earlier, there's a very good chance that this game could end up on my top 10 new to me games list this year. Yes, it's a bit of a table hog and it's a bit long, but man, this game is a ton of fun. Another interesting thing is that for a game this size, I actually feel pretty comfortable with the idea of teaching it to new players, compared to other games I love but dread teaching. I obviously need to pick my spot earlier in the evening with plenty of time. Certainly not late night after a lot of drinking. But yeah, I've got a couple of friends who love Lost Ruins of Arnak, so I might try to teach them this game the next time they're in town. In terms of scoring, I'm giving Revive a 9. I highly recommend checking it out if you like games with a lot of tactical and strategic choices, everything from how to use which part of which cards to what direction to place the tiles that you explore. If you like games where you get to bump tracks and move up tech trees, or if you like deck building in games but want to try something just a bit different. And of course, as I've said, if you like Lost Ruins of Arnak but want to try something just a bit heavier, I think you're going to like Revive. If you've played Revive, I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. Let me know if you like it better than Lost Ruins of Arnak. Oh, and if you've played that campaign mode, let me know if you think it's worth it. Thanks so much for watching, thank you for liking and subscribing, and I'll see you next time, here on Board Game Casual.